guys, today's the day we start taking apart the cowboy truck. I first had to get it up as high as I could on jack stands. I was trying to get the truck level. Not only did I need about 19 inches to be able to clear the size of this transmission bell housing, getting it out and getting the new one in. I think this is a little taller than the Turbo 400 that's in there. This is a 4L80E. So I need that space. I need to be able to drop it down, slide it off the jack, and slide it out from underneath there. I tried to make the truck as level as possible because I'm gonna have to rebuild the transmission cross member, and I want to get that same pinion angle that I have currently, which I believe is about 4 degrees if I remember right. It's around 3 or 4 degrees. So I want to make sure that I'm able to check that at ride height. So under there, I know a lot of you probably have this same situation, no lift, working on the floor. And then I'm going to start today by taking the intake, carburetor, probably going to pull the fuel pump, all the wiring that I have running into the cab for the computer. I said I'm replacing the carb setup on here with fuel injection. I have somebody that wants to buy this, and they're going to put it on their car and mock up an LS1 as a 409. They make some 409 valve cover adapters now for it, so that'll look pretty cool. I just decided to go, since I'm going to an overdrive transmission anyway, decided just to go ahead and do the FiTech fuel injection. It has a controller, computer, it's all in one, so it should work really well. So I'm going to get started on this. These valve covers were not the easiest thing to put on either. I had to I pull the alternator. It's real tight up here. Actually, I think I notched the back of the alternator has a plastic cover. I think I just did a little tiny notch in it, if I remember right, so that it fit. The other problem I'm going to run into is my oil fill. Currently I'm here with this intake with these valve covers on there. Don't know how I'm going to do it. Alright. You can see I I drilled with a hole saw in the back here and then kind of filed down the edges. Cut a little piece of vacuum line and split it to make a nice soft area there so the wire's passing through. See the coil packs, and then I put a thicker rubber style gasket here, just give me more clearance because it is pretty tight under there. An intermission, I went in and took out the wheel well because my plan is to climb in there. Since I got this truck up so high, I need to get way back there in the back. I think it'll make my life a little bit easier, unless I get stuck, which is very possible. I need to take well, I'm in. Wonder if I can get out. Guess I'll deal with that later. Okay, so I've got, oh no. I forgot that I put cap head screws in there. Oh man. All right, back out. I'll get back out of here. messed around just a little bit. It took the starter off and got the wiring harness the rest of the way out. And I'm getting ready to do a quick test fit on the intake. It's a fuel injection. This whole new wiring harness. Fuse block with relays. Everything is labeled great. I've got a couple of concerns. One is the throttle cable clearance if it's on this side. This is a 92 millimeter. And they've made it where you can mount it either way. Definitely won't work that direction, not with this alternator. Could work here. But another concerns I'm going to have are these plugs down here. You can see this pulley right there. This comes straight out into the back of that pulley. There's the metal part of the, this is just a stock Chevy truck bracket. So that metal part right there is going to be hard to get one of the throttle position plug into it. And then if I run everything out to the passenger side, I'm running in my radiator hose as I come up and over. So this is a stock like 72 GMC style radiator. So I had to piece two hoses together to make it work. We got the one that comes across, and then the piece that comes out of the water pump. But this is clearing. I think that'll clear okay. I'm just, should be, I'm saying this piece here, my fuel rail is going to be on top, but I think it just straight up over, so this being right here should be fine. I talked about last time my pulley bracket, that stock assembly that came out of I'm going to say like an 01, 02 Chevy truck, puts the alternator real high. All of that is going to be in my way. This throttle body, this pulley is just directly in front of it, and that's the idler pulley. So that's going to be in the way. The bracket itself is going to be in the way of one of the plug-ins on the side of the throttle body. So what I did is I ordered from ICT Billet a new bracket that will relocate the power steering and the alternator. And really the power steering pump doesn't move a lot, but this alternator comes out here farther and it puts the idler pulley kind of between the alternator and the power steering. So that'll free up my clearance here. But what I'm going to do right now is kind of get all of this stuff off. I also went and picked up some new knock sensors as well as a knock sensor wiring harness, as I had eliminated the knock sensors, but I'm going to put those back in because that EFI, or sorry, the FiTech EFI requires that plug-in, so I'm going to be putting that back in as well. So right now I'm just going to focus on, I didn't get this fan clutch out of the way, get the shroud here out of the way. I'm going to try to do all of that without opening up any of the cooling system. So I'm going to see if I can do that. That makes a big mess, so I'm going to try to avoid that. Kind of get that out of the way. Maybe mount the knock sensors, try to get the intake mounted, and I'm waiting on that bracket, so it'll be a couple days, but I might go ahead and get this stuff out of my way, work on mounting that, and then I can start laying out the wiring and see where everything needs to be. Hopefully I can mount the computer and the fuse block inside, probably behind the glove box. I'll make some sort of bracket to mount those. Be able to should be able to get this assembly off. I've got to use a puller to take this pulley off. I don't really want to just pull the power steering pump out with the bracket. I'd rather leave it in the truck. That way I don't leak fluid all over the place. So I'm gonna see if I can get my puller in here to take that off. Take back together with those plugs. I got a elbow, 3 plugs. I also installed the map sensor on the back. I'm gonna do a quick test fit. Make sure. Kind of angled that vacuum line towards the driver's side. Just making sure bolt holes look like they're gonna line up before I install the O-rings. These O-rings fit in there. They've got little nibs or bumps on them to kind of hold them in place. I have to use a little grease or Vaseline or something to also make sure that they will seal good. Spray the aerosol can paint lid, put a little oil in it just to dip the end of the thread from there. That I was able to work on is this ICT billet bracket here. So I ordered that so that I could move the alternator from here. So I had that original truck bracket, move it from here over. It also moved the idler pulley, which was here, if you remember right, it was sitting right in front of that intake, and I was gonna have a hard time getting a tube on there. So it moves the idler pulley down here. So what that also entailed was getting a new belt. So the previous belt, I believe, was like a 93-inch belt, and this ended up being a 78-inch belt that I ordered. So ICT Billet gave me a part number. They probably had it in stock as well, but I just wanted to go and get it quickly, so I ran up to the parts store, gave them that part number, and they cross-referenced it to this Daco belt here. So fuel rails are in, remember that? I went ahead and put the fuel crossover in the front. I'm gonna have to put in a return line. So I was gonna have 2 lines running, so I think I'll run those in the back rather than trying to run them up here, as I still need room to get to the oil fill cap down here, which is going to be tedious and a real pain. But right now that's the option that I'm working with. So until that becomes too difficult and I have to do something different, then we'll go with that. So today I'm going to try to put the fan shroud, the fan back in, get the alternator wired back up. I also cleaned up my transmission. So I did a little degrease and power wash on it so that it'll be ready to go in. I'm going to try to put that in this week. I also bought these adapters from ICT Billet as well. And I ordered some, these are -6 AN fittings. So I ordered some elbows that'll go to a 5/16 barb fitting, and that's what I'm going to run to my radiator, my transmission cooling lines. So I'll have it here. I already have those lines set up. I will have to extend them because I think they're going to fall back here somewhere. So I'm going to extend those lines up here, put a hose clamp on it, and so on. And yeah, I have a new dipstick from Low-Car that I'm going to put in here. I just stuck this in here while I was power washing it, try to keep water out of there. I am going to change the filter and the fluid once it's up in the truck. So just, I don't want to put it on an engine stand and mess with all that. I'll just wait till it's in the truck and I'll change it. We're going to try to stab that this week. We'll have to make a mounting bracket for these two and then run all my wires. So we'll be filming some of that so you have an idea what that's going to look like. I have to go pick up another car today, so this has got to move outside for a little bit. The other car has a fresh paint job, so I'm going to want it sitting inside. No wonder it was difficult to put that in upside down. Any easier, but right. I also test fit this valve cover, and it's going to be real tight up against this plastic here on the back, but I think it's going to work okay. It's going to be snug, but I think everything will fit. Worst case, I can slot the hole just a touch in the valve cover. So right now I'm just routing this wire. This is for the alternator. I'm routing it up through this bracket. And there's a certain point here. I'm going to go up to basically this point on the wiring harness here forward is going to go out. So that's what I just got to work on now, is getting that out. Everything is labeled great here, so that's not a problem. The instructions are great, the labels are great. So it's just going to be tedious work to feed everything and get it all out that hole. Kit, I did call FiTech because in the instructions it talks about a driver's side and a passenger side O2 sensor, and they said that you can just run the driver's side with no problem. Everything else, pretty much from here up, just stays in the cab. And I believe that's another transmission plug there. They put an extra, they have it in a sheathing, but if it's going to be down around the exhaust or some heat related areas, they put this extra sheathing around it too, which is super nice. Alright, so I think I'm going to go take loose. That one wire that's going through there is for my temperature gauge. The control panel is actually going to have a temperature gauge on it, so I might eventually remove that anyway. The one I have under the dash, and just run off of that panel. You know, if I eventually go to some Dakota digital gauges, which I might, then it has all the wiring here for those. Oh, here it is. But it has goes to speedometer, fan, brake, tach. There's an AC wire, speedometer. So there should be one for a temperature sensor here to hook up temperature somehow. Regardless, it'll be on the gauge anyway, so I will work on that. All right, welcome back, guys. Today, I'm going to be working on mounting the computer for the FiTech computer, as well as the fuse block here. So I'm going to try to get all of that mounted up right in here. I'm going to start by cutting some sheet metal and figuring out how I want to place this and mount it. I'm going to have to weld probably a couple of studs out here so that I can mount that bracket to, and then mount these to that. Now the fuse block here, you see all the wires coming out the back. I'm going to have to do a standoff, or I thought I might try to cut out a little bit of the plate or the mounting piece that everything's going on, so that these wires can feed through the back. So I think that's what I'm going to be working on today. Let's get started. I cut another piece out of there, nice and flat, and can't take credit for this. It's a little bender that my brother made that's going to work nicely in here. So what I'm going to do is bend up the top and bottom just to make this a little stiffer. I'm not going to worry about the sides, just the top and bottom. So here's the computer set in here. I think I only need to bend about 1 inch on both. The square is 1 inch, or at least this part of it is, so I'll just lay it on there and mark it. Yeah, nice line. And that'll be the line that I can bend it from. So I gotta think about this. I'm gonna go in here, I need to see the line, and I'll bend up. So this is my front. I'll flip this over and mark the back side. Have a nice sheet metal brake yet. This is the way we do it. Small project. So all he did is take a big piece of angle, like 3-inch angle, mounted this plate to it and a hinge, and then slide it under there and clamp it, and then bend the hinge up with a couple of channel locks. This nicely to where there are nuts welded to the plate down there, so you don't have to hold it both sides. So there's a pretty great fabricator. Usually if I need something built that I'm struggling with, I will have him help me with it. Shift it all. Not bad. It's not a real crisp line, but for what I have here. Got the computer mounted along with the fuse block. That should be nice access if I ever need it. I did send the seat off to the upholsterer to get it done. I need to pull the tank out, and then I'm going to run this hush mat, or this kill mat here, up the wall. And I've got carpet coming, so I'm going to replace the mat with carpet. It's going to be like a saddle color. It's not a factory. It's going to be a little custom seat. But yeah, pretty happy with the way that turned out.